Art of conscious relating. Welcome to the art of conscious relating. Mm.
Mm.
Mm. It's us doing something or being something, thinking something, feeling even our emotions to doesn't matter what triggered them, to use that fuel to direct something, our intention consciously. So we're feeding it, but not with a bad, we're not with a toxic emotion. We transform it, we feel it. We don't say, no, I'm not feeling this emotion, but we then decide, okay, I felt this now. What can I do with this incredible energy? To use it to share that into the world, for example, or to feel this, or whatever it is I'm intending. Then we tell the universe we're serious as well. So it's not a case of, it's all up to you now. It's, we just set things in motion without trying to control it. But we are deliberate.
It's funny because that relates a lot to the discussion that we've been having with students. There's a beautiful energy that they bring of youth. It's that freshness, and it's a powerful freshness. It's a thirst. It's one of those real summer, can't be quenched sort of thirsts that they bring. And the wanting, you can feel this sense of wanting really quite defined answers to the questions of life, or the understanding of human nature. And yet we end up talking about things and bringing the discussion by in a sort of a natural flow, really, to the point that actually there isn't this definitive, there isn't this nice sharp straight edge, this nice line that separates one thing from another. What we find is we're sitting in the room and there's that same number of people, there are that many realities all overlapping and taking place, and so there's all commonality and there's all difference coexisting. In the process of that, what starts to become apparent in the, I'm going to say melee, but it wasn't quite a melee, that would be doing it a disservice, but in the discussion, this toing and froing, some part of it seemed to be about the attentional, where the attention was being placed in that moment, where the eye was turned, whether it was turned outwards, whether it was turned inwards, whether it was focused in the mind, whether it's focused in the body, whether it's focused perhaps in the heart. And as people were sharing, one of the students turned around and said, the beauty of these moments for me is because I'm 18 and sometimes I feel a young 18 and I feel quite fixed. I suddenly realize how fixed my view is when I listen to everybody else's, which I thought actually was quite a mature standpoint. When I hear all these other views and realize, crikey, they're so different to mine. How can that possibly be? And I think the other word that you mentioned there to me that really resonates, and it's one that the students, you can see again, a sort of almost a surprise as you bring it into the space. The idea of energy, or psychic energy, the fact that we have a mental energy, a motivational energy, an emotional energy that we bring to this being. So I can't help the thought that can we see our attention as being a sort of almost a funnel for that, to direct where this energy then either accumulates or where it flows from. It's almost, depending on where we place it, is it an outpouring, or is it a filling in of the energy, so to speak? I don't know if that sort of makes sense, or you feel relates to this particular topic, but there were just thoughts that hit the mark for me there.
Most definitely. Most definitely. And this morning I woke up with Archimedes' quote of, "Give me somewhere to stand and I'll move the world." And it is exactly about consciously directing, becoming aware of that energy in the first place, and then to consciously work with it, play with it, directing it. So yes, most definitely. And what's interesting for me is when whether it's a thought or emotion, whether within our hearts or minds, or in our bodies, that trigger, that something guides us, that trigger of consciously directing us to do something now, whether it's intuition or whether it's an external trigger or an external sign or something that makes us away from external, but it's our awareness of it first, of that energy. To realize how powerful that energy, our ability is to move that energy around. Now, I want to bring Einstein into this, one of my favorite topics. And Einstein's E equals MC square. If you take it from a physicality point of view, it gives us a little bit of an insight. We've never done this as humanity, to really look at that equation. Well, Einstein, the theory of relativity, so what? But living it is a different story, and to realize the power behind it. And let me give you a personal example of what it could mean. Energy is the E, no? M is mass, C is the speed of light. Our thoughts can travel at faster than the speed of light. Our body, our mass, if we take our mass, and now a practical example of it is if you weigh about 87 kilograms, for example, I don't know how many pounds that is, I think 150, no, I don't know. But if you weigh 87 kilograms, then if your thoughts are positive, and when I mean positive, it's not like bad, good and bad. It's to its potential that we use that, the strength of our thoughts. It can travel at the speed of light. It's that quick, because even between me and you, if I have a thought, and I would send it to you, you could get it instantaneously. That's how we communicate right now. We can't see it, but it's happening. But it has the power, then that equation has the power of me weighing, if I weighed, for example, 87 kilograms, my thoughts, good thoughts, were traveling at the speed of, with the intention, with the belief, with the faith, with the trust, with the confidence, at the speed of light. I have the power in this body, in this presence, in this being, to destroy at the same power that 5 atomic bombs did in Japan. That power. A whole city destroyed. We don't want to do that with our power. That's why we don't physically do it, I suppose. But we have that ability. So even if we just take that ability, that from our physicality point of view and from a scientific point of view, we have the power to impact and influence. So the more we become aware of our thoughts and the power of our bodies and the intelligence living here in this body, that gives me the sign now, stop, go. If I start listening to the signs in my body, and my intuition in my heart, or now pause and now act, listening to these signs, what we can achieve. And how we consciously can direct for the highest good. Now, I've been asked by students, PhD students in Japan, do I believe this is possible? E equals mc square in this way. And I say, yes. I know it's possible. And I know on some level we have something that stops us from using it to destroy. Even Einstein said he didn't mean to contribute to the making of the atomic bomb. But I think there's something else in us, our souls, at a deeper level, is not here to destroy. So I think but it demonstrates the power that we have in our physicality and our thoughts and our emotions. Because without desire, without passion, nothing can manifest either. You know, the seed, something needs to allow it to burst through that soul. That's incredible power. Knowing on its way to the sun.
And it's a beautiful image. It's a beautiful way of holding on to something that is quite ethereal. You know, I think this is what the essence of why I think sometimes the students are quite surprised and look that, you know, they end up hoping for something that's incredibly concrete and find something that's incredibly will-o'-the-wisp. And yet there is something substantive. These might be difficult things to quantify and measure, but the qualities are very real and very felt. I remember yesterday we were into the zone where it's like, do you believe black holes exist? Yeah, we believe black holes exist. Scientists have measured them. So, well, the scientists haven't sort of measured them, because you can't measure black holes because they're black holes. They're we don't see them. That's the point. Well, how do we measure them then? Well, now a really very good question. You know, we measure the effect of them. We see the influence of black holes. We don't necessarily measure black holes directly. We measure the effects, the qualities of the black hole, the influence that the black hole has. So, you know, as we were talking, as we start thinking about this idea that there's an energetic quality to our thoughts, our emotions, our motivations, our behaviors, we then into the sort of the qualities of those things, you know, not the quantity of it, not the shape of it or those physical type factors, but, you know, the qualities of it. How does this, if we have this energy at our disposal and we're able to bring it, so if we can have awareness of it and we're able to bring it, direct it into the world, do we have the ability to influence the quality of the energy that we're bringing forward? And now, bearing in mind, we were thinking about humanistic psychology, so we were thinking about Maslow and Carl Rogers, and we couldn't help but end up with the idea that we're in a relational space together, and that the energy, the qualities of our being that we're bringing into that space are interacting with the energies and the qualities of other people, and that is a co-creation. I know there's another phrase that you use, but there's a, you know, it's a co-creation of the quality of the shared energy in that space, and that has the potential to be transformative, to allow something to grow, to develop, to be creative for things that neither of us might expect to appear in that space. Or it has the opposite. It has the ability to, the quality of that energy has the ability to quash, to crush, to push back, to retreat, to almost suck the energy out of that space, such that there isn't creativity, such that there isn't the ability to make mistakes. Is a big one I've worked with people over the years. Organizations where people are fearful of getting it wrong, therefore they don't become creative, they don't take risks, they don't try to solve things in ways that are more efficient or more productive or more conducive to the people that are doing that work. Or I hope you understand what I'm sort of saying, that it doesn't add to the relationship in the workplace, rather that it's, you know, they're on the tram lines. It's almost like trying to guess what the boss wants so I can predict, I can do that, and therefore I don't get chastised in any way. I don't fall off the neat line and the neat path. And I'm sure you've come across examples in your life of those situations and that intermixing of energy.
Most definitely, most definitely. And I love the way that you speak about the experience part, the type of energy. So it's rightly so in the sense of, we are so outcome based for a specific thing. Let me give something here. So if I want to create this little thingy, this notepad.
Very nice as well, they are.
It's very specific. Yeah, it's a butterfly in that part.
Yeah.
It's very specific. I focus, this is my goal. Then something happens in between that takes it off the path, and then I get distraught because it's not working out. Because I was not open to the type of experience I will have when I create this. So I'm so fixed on the end result instead of my experience through the whole process creating it, or the whole distance of my journey, not just the destination. And then life happens, like you say, there are other energies coming in and out, swirling in and out, that affects everything. We're not living on an island. And then we get, like you say, afraid, or we don't want to try, we get apprehensive, we procrastinate, we get anxious and overwhelmed, and all those type of things. For whatever reason, because other energies enter our space too. And then when we don't get this in 9 months, I want to create this thing in 9 months, we think, oh, the world's life is against me, doesn't want to work out, I failed. You didn't fail at all. It's simply you perhaps focusing on, there could be better things to focus on. It's rather to have the experience of how you want to feel and the type of experience you want to have while you're creating it, while you're achieving your goal. There's nothing wrong with goal setting. But if you the thing with goal setting is it takes you into the future. So it takes you out of the present moment. Instead of now here, how can I now consciously in this moment direct the process of what I'm trying to achieve in the goal? But now I put my attentions outside my body. I'm out of this here and now moment, and I am not able to observe what's going on around me. I don't notice synchronicities or signs or triggers even. So I'm just on this thing, and then I lose out on life itself, and life is yet to be lived, firstly, before we even go to the creation part. But it is that conflux of energies coming in and out and flowing, and us becoming aware that we can play with them. We can work with them. That's what magic is about. People think magic's weird stuff. It's not. Magic is simply working with the best possible outcome of a specific energy. And we play with it. That's magic. And by itself, our ability to consciously direct anything and influence, and we know we impact everyone, everybody around ourselves. If I'm moody, I'm going to impact you today. For whatever reason, it's not a judgment thing, it's purely I'm not feeling well. So I'm going to impact whatever we share, and there's nothing wrong with it, but we impact every single moment, or everything around us. If I lift my arm up, I move the energy. So also becoming aware of what helps us with conscious directing is when we become aware from an embodiment point of view, is if I lift my arm, where do I stop? Me, my identity, my sense of self. And to realize that, in effect, my energy doesn't stop there, where I think my hand is. It goes outward into the world. And the intensity with what I feel and share is how far outreaching it will be. So if there's no light to it, it will die just here in front of me. But if I need to nourish my intentions, I need to feed them with good stuff. That's why it's so important these days on social media, for example, where we put our attention, because we feed it. So we consciously direct our attention to something and we give it more energy, whatever it might be. We're not here to try to say if it's good or bad. But these things, like you're sharing now with the lecture, with the students, it's wonderful. Because that's what I also love about such engagements. And we don't have to, physically it's wonderful to be able to feel it as well, to really feel it in a room full of people. But when you're now even digitally in the virtual world, you can still sense it too. But it's, if I'm sitting here by myself, oh, it's going to be very boring. It's like you said, that relationship, is that engagement. That takes it further, that multiplies it. So those students of yours, of yesterday, they go into their world, and it's already part of the experience, whatever you explore together. So they impact everybody around them now with that. That's conscious directing, although it's not direct. It can be indirect. It doesn't need to be direct like this. It's in ways, but it happens naturally.
And in Taoism, that would be the flow or the path. You know, it's this idea that it's, if we're in that space, there is a naturalness to the movement, to the flow of that energy. There is it has its own life, its own rhythm, it has its own tempo, we might say, a freshness. It's not something that then has to be forced. It's like the flow of a river. You know, it finds its own path. You know, often the challenges that we're learning now, especially in the UK, we're learning it. The challenges are when we direct the flow of water artificially, you know, it often has unexpected and adverse effects, so to speak, down the line. You know, there's a reason why we had floodplains. There's a reason why the river took the course that it took. There's a reason. There's an order and naturalness to it. And I think, you know, this is the same. Psychologists, I don't believe I'm going to try and say this, but we will do. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, who, you know, looked at the idea of flow, of this experience where we lose ourselves, where time doesn't have a meaning, where we're so engaged in the experience, the process of being in that moment, in whatever activity that we are doing, bringing forth this being, this naturalness, that we the ways of describing it is this flow. You know, they interviewed so many different occupations. A lot of them were things around the arts, but there was things to do with rock climbing, surgeons, musicians, etc. And the most frequent word that came through to describe it was they were in a sense of flow. And, you know, is it no wonder we find this throughout history, these ideas, this flow of energy, this flow of naturalness, of being. And there is something infectious. We get this, you know, when we're in our moments, whether, you know, we're doing recordings or we're just having a chin wag, and we get the smiles come, we find ourselves lost in whatever it is we're talking about, and the next minute you look at the go, my goodness, where's this morning gone? You know, we've been doing, because you know, there is what am I trying to say, that we put the energy that we put into the world is a gift. There's another guy, Otto Sharma at ULab, NIT, does wonderful stuff to do with systems thinking, a new way of being in the world in terms of ecology, in terms of producing food, and all sorts of fantastic stuff. His route through has been one of commercial and corporate sort of consultancy, work with Peter Senge and people like that. And one of his books is Presence, the idea that you come into a relational field and there is this something beyond the physicality of you. There's something that you put into this space. You have a presence that is equally important and we're not talking a presence of dominance, or, you know, granted, we could, for some people, that might be the energy that what they're putting into the world. But again, I would argue, you know, that energy, if you think of it extending beyond you, like you so beautifully described, and I love the lovely colors going on there. Yeah. Tell it's summer coming up, can't you? You're on the way. But you guys just so beautifully showed it that you know, we extend beyond ourselves, but we don't extend it in a way, how can I put it, that is, there's not a field of this is me, that's you. There is a mixing. There is something that is more like paint, or you know, I always use the example of the Russian dolls. You know, people often think if I keep peeling back the layers, I'll eventually find the real me at the center.
It's small.
Yeah, it's this little me.
It's not you.
I've got it. Here we are. You know, and so there's sometimes, and I've experienced this myself many times, and I have to keep reminding myself, you know, oh, if I only just sort this, I only just come to terms with this part of me, I'll finally be there. Here we are. You know, and it's not for me. You know, although my brain wants it to be like that, the reality is no, it's not like that, because it's all of this is so fleeting. It's so momentary. The moments of inspiration, the moments of insight, of revelation, they're all fleeting moments. They don't persist or enduring as a constant state. They might leave an indelible mark, and they might shift the direction or change the momentum, but they're not, that moment, that experience is fleeting. And so when I look to different metaphors for this, I start to find something that if I put some red paint on the plate, and you come to this and you put some yellow paint on the plate, and we start merging it all and mixing it up in the middle, and then there'll be a bit of it that is a little bit more yellowy, and there's a bit of it that's a bit more reddy, but actually there's this mixing and coming together in the middle of the colors that are intermingling or merging or making new colors or making patterns or and you know, isn't that it? Isn't it like, you know, where do I stop and you start? Because in this moment, as I'm sharing with you and you're sharing with me, there's a transaction going on, there's an interchange, and some of you is now me. And some of me is now you. I know.
You.
I know. What a combination. Watch out, world.
Run.
Watch out, world. That's all I can say. You've got a Hannelie Lee hybrid.
Hannelie.
Hannelie.
Yeah. It could be a lovely brand.
It's perhaps it's always been in the name. There's always been a bit of hybridness anyway.
You know, you remind me, but it's so wonderful. Your example is, it's extremely powerful. You remind me now of names as well. I used to, at some time, a few years ago, I used to work with a friend called Ilka, and we co-created beautiful things. And when we started a workshop or something together, I would say, hi, I'm H and he's I. Hi. But you've taken it further. Hannelie.
I'm there. I'm in the name.
In the name. I can't say hi because it's. But you know, if I listen to my body when you say that, you know, when you talk about this intermingling, and I love that. That's one of the things that I love to also. There's wonderful experience around that, to physically experience that mingling that you speak about. That we get a sense of what it really means, and then that impact on the world. And if we become aware of it, how we can really become aware of how beautiful we can create the world. You know, what beauty we can create in the world, what wonderful things, and in experiences, what wonderful experiences even more. But that type of energy is so strong. It's so incredibly strong. When you speak about the river, I'm really thinking of that river originating in the mountain at its origin. It knows where to go to. It knows it's on its way to the ocean. And it will have rivulets. Yes, it's also curious. It also wants to explore and share its, the nourishment of the water with the land. And yes, there are boundaries. There are clear boundaries. The banks of the river. It doesn't just flood everything. Sometimes it does, but it does. But it is focused. So there's flow and there's focus. So people would think when you speak flow, that's, but what about the focus? You have to have both. But in the river of life, both are there already anyway. We don't have to think about it. Sometimes we just need to get out of our minds and just feel the flow and feel the focus and direct our thoughts and direct our attention and make curious and conscious decisions about where we want to spend our time, our energy and things. That's where that power comes in, of just becoming aware of it and not judging ourselves when we become aware, oh my goodness, I've focused again on toxicity or whatever it might have been, especially in today's world. But that intermingling is the nice part. It is that interflow, even with any object that's made, even with this object I used earlier. There are more than one ingredient to have made this. It's not just one ingredient. And the process that was used to create it was also intrinsic process by itself. So it's not that I'm here and you're there. There's something happening, whether we say anything or not. It's happening already, just by our presence, the beingness part. So, and I think if we move from there into the world, just becoming aware of all this power we have, and we're not talking about ruling others and the likes, then imagine what we can co-create in the world and consciously contribute to. Just contribute to. We don't even have to create anything.
Yeah. I completely agree. And you beautifully added there such another strong image for me. The source, the spring, the wellspring in the mountains. There is something that, if we're prepared to take these ancient images, these ancient metaphors that people have used, the river of life, the passage of time, the flow of time, the flow of life, all of these, this image of rivers going through it. Yes, we know it. We know the place we're headed. We know the direction. We know where we're going to be. And yes, there is direction to it. Perhaps the harder part is when the riverbanks can't contain that energy, as you say, when the floods are coming. But and I'm not sitting here going through the same thing twice, although I am. But the point of it was, I can't help it. I get drawn into the image. It's such a strong image. I can't help but it speaks so strongly. And you said about this whole thing of, if we're in that river of life, we're in that flow of life. There is a flow. There is a, if we're in the current, we're in the river taking us forward. If we're connected all the way back to that source, that eternal source that we've had right from the onset of the journey, right from the beginning. If we're in that, you can imagine that line connecting it all the way to this present moment. There is this, it's just keeping out of the way of that. It's not steering us in by the bank or into direction that it's not meant to be. And And that, again, it's another moment I find myself saying something that's so easy to say, yet at the same time is so practically, emotionally, spiritually difficult. Because, you know, there's, I love James Hillman's work, another depth psychologist, and he describes it in terms of acorn theory. That there's this acorn that you don't have to teach, it's just going to grow into the tree. All you've got to do is get out of its way and give it the nutrients that it needs. And I think we're talking the very same thing in this metaphor. You know, let's just get out of the way of the flow of the river, forget about the, you know, forcing it. Notice where the flow is, notice where the ease is, notice where you're most connected to your source. And I think we're talking something here about it's something that's self-actualizing, self-transcending, something that is this, that is the essence of this seed, is the highest level of potential that we have. And it's not what the world, the potential puts on us, it's whatever the potential. So you know it when it's energized, when there's a sense of ease about it, when a sense of this is most me, this is when I'm most alive, this is when I'm most my energy is most gravitating towards an activity or a particular thing. It's a shame we find it in hobbies, and yet sometimes we struggle to find it in our professional lives. You know,
I know why, or at least one possibility, not that this is the only way or the only possibility, is that we think too much about it. When you do your hobby, you're so absorbed in doing whatever it is, whether it's writing, reading, doesn't matter. You're not thinking. You're creating, or you're reading, or you're relaxing, or you're swimming, or you're surfing, or you're crafting. You're not thinking. You're using perhaps most probably use your hands in some way, your body, whether it's you're reading or listening or watching a movie. You're relaxing. That's number one.
Like that.
There's no thing of I have to do this thing because I love doing it. It's not I have to, like I have to have a career to make money to feed myself and my family and story, lifestyle, whatever. It's natural, firstly, and it's in the moment. It's not about tomorrow. It's I love to make this thing now, or I love to watch this movie now, or my hobby, whatever my hobby is. And the other part of it is that as I'm sitting here, when I say we think too much about it, we don't use our bodies to direct us. We have all these type of thoughts and ideas and worries and concerns. We don't listen to our body, the signals it gives us to say, okay, do I go left here or right here? But not I consciously in my mind deciding where to go to if I have two choices, for example, but listening to my body. What part of me is pulling me where? Very subtle in the beginning, sometimes even imperceptible in the beginning. But the more we begin to sense into our bodies to guide us, like you said earlier, does this engine want to go out now and play, or does it want to be contained? Listening to the body, is the body saying, whoa, stop? Or yes, go act? Is it infused? Is it energized? Like you rightly said, does it energize me? Does it uplift me? The specific activity or whatever it might be. But it is from where we move out into the world. You know, I actually want to draw a cartoon about our minds. It's constantly like this thing with a shape into the outside, out there. Instead of let that source connection is within us, not out there.
Yeah.
Looking for it. we might be looking for it there. And then we look for instant gratification. And then we think, oh yeah, this is it. But instant gratification is just an instantaneous thing. It will pass. It's not lasting.
It's almost like life flows through the body.
Yes, and life is flowing through the body. Life is flowing through us. And it's not happening to us, life. It's flowing through us and express itself through us as we're sitting here. And then it loves to engage with others. And and relate to everything around it. We can't imagine if we didn't relate to anything around us.
Well, we don't have to imagine at the moment.
There would be no movement. There would be no movement. Then nothing will happen.
We've sampled it in lockdown, what it's like to be.
And we know how incredible restrictive that is. Life is not supposed to be restrictive. And there are so many things we can do and decide and just being. But I love it, Lee. Thank you so much. I feel the rhythm now in my legs. It's like, that's pure joy. I love it when I feel the energy in my legs because whatever we explore together, it's grounded, it's centered. And that's another thing about conscious directing is if we're not centered and we're disorientated, we will lose balance and we will not go into the right, necessarily the best direction for that possible moment because we're not centered and grounded. And that's why something that I know you love as well, nature is our best teacher. Into nature and just be with nature to get grounded again. If we do feel we get disorientated or we lost our path or we're afraid of the unknown, the uncertainty, we hear all these words these days. So Lee, are you going to go later to nature?
He says, yesterday it was horizontal rain coming past the window. It's like you saw little kittens blowing past, umbrellas, cars, tumbling.
My goodness, you are so funny.
It was yesterday. We sat there in the seminar, and we all looked round at the window as this storm blew through. I'm hoping to. I might have to save it to the weekend. I certainly am missing it. And it's interesting you saying about it being in the legs. It's funny, I find it's in the limbs. It's both my legs, bottom of my legs, calves, and in my forearms. That's where I start to feel the tightness. If I'm not out in nature, it's like it's flowing from those limbs that it grounds. So most definitely will be there this weekend. And hopefully the students now are quite interested in coming and doing some ecotherapy and forest walking and eco-mindfulness. So I'm negotiating to see if this is something that will be a thumbs up to be able to do. So fingers crossed we'll be out there and sharing the experiences with the students as well.
That's fantastic.
How cool is that?
Conscious directing.
Yeah, following the flow. It is following that flow.
And to follow through with it as well.
Yeah.
And not like you said, it is get out of our own ways.
Yeah, it's not so much going with the flow. It's allowing the flow to be within and through, and using it as it's funny because there is the strongest current is in certain places in rivers, and as you move away from that, so that the current also moves away. It doesn't matter, it's not just rivers, it's in seas and oceans as well. But as you move away from that, it decreases and the water slows down and it deposits whatever it wants to. And it's not always evenly spread in the river. So there's a place, if you want to be in the maximum part of the flow, it is a spot. It is a particular place. It is in a particular direction. And that's this imaginary line, this golden thread or path that people, all the sorts of mythical images that are used to describe this aspect, this unfolding of life, this destiny, this quality of fatefulness. And I don't mean a fate that is depotenting a person. Actually, I'm talking about a fate that is that path, that is that optimum, that potentiality unfolding. This is, not only does it mean that we can become a maximum, it also means that we can't be everything. It is a view that is limiting. You know, it is a view that we're not empty vessels to be filled up, that actually we have all the qualities that we need. It's finding that flow, and it's bringing it to the world with the qualities of us, qualities of our being, that allows the magic to happen, the manifestation, the creation.
It is who's the observer of all of this. And what experience does this observer want to have in this moment? Maybe, like you say, it's the rapids for this moment. And then tomorrow it's just like floating on our backs and let the river take us. But it's not either or, it's both and. And just it's our awareness, our sensitivity to it. And like go with the flow. It's also being the flow ourselves.
Yeah. I didn't mean to start that conversation again.
So, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure. I love it. I love it.